Good morning. Happy Father's Day. When I was 12 and on the cusp of becoming a young man, my brother-in-law Marvin and I built a soapbox derby car together. I learned to shape wood, to saw and glue, and to sand. And when it was nearly finished, Marvin showed me how to use a rag to make the wheels spin in order to break in the ball bearings to make the car go faster. We'd work from opposite ends, start a wheel spinning, get it going as fast as we could, and then move to the next wheel and do it all again, and around we'd go. And this wheel spinning would go on for an hour or two each evening, a little like a dance, spinning, laughing, moving round and around the car, not talking all that much, just being together, getting ready for race day. A couple years later, I spent the summer helping Marvin build a house. I shoveled a lot of gravel, pounded nails till my arms ached, and I learned the difference between level and plumb and how to handle a circular saw. But more than that, I was getting ready. It's been a long time now since I studied at the Methodist Theological School in Ohio, but I still remember Professor Meyer's lecture in homiletics class when he said that rituals are essential truths transformed into symbolic actions. Rituals are essential truths transformed into symbolic actions. For example, in Christianity, the Eucharist, the breaking of bread, symbolizes the brokenness of Jesus, the brokenness of all humanity. Powerful stuff. Maybe during this stay-at-home period of the last few months, you might have watched the ESPN 10-part documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls' final championship season called The Last Dance. There was one segment in which a Bulls player, now the coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, talked about a ritual that their coach, Phil Jackson, engaged the team in during their final season together. He asked each player to write down a secret feeling, desire, or intention about the team on a piece of paper. And then each slip of paper was placed into a large container and set on fire. Sounds a lot like our Unitarian Universalist fire communion, doesn't it? Anyway, as Steve Kerr told this story, he teared up and talked about how meaningful it was for him, this ritual of being together. Again, powerful stuff. So on this Father's Day, I find myself thinking about rituals of sanding and spinning wheels, shoveling gravel, as Robert Bly wrote, standing next to Marvin as he provided me with rituals of initiation into manhood. Well, Father's Day 2020 is certainly one for the books. Unlike any other Father's Day that I can remember, we have all endured the last 5 months of the COVID-19 pandemic and the last few weeks of long overdue civil unrest in response to the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Philando Castillo, Breonna Taylor, and so many more. Where to go with this? Well, usually when I'm going to give a homily or a presentation of some kind, I start to write weeks in advance. I committed to giving this homily months ago, but I feared that anything I had to say might come off as trite or superficial or out of touch the closer it got. Weeks went by and I wrote nothing. I was relieved when I realized that actually I'd be on the road to a family gathering in Ohio at the time of this service. And so I emailed Eric and Dawn and asked if it would be okay to video the homily ahead of time, or maybe they'd prefer to get somebody else to do the sermon today. There was a fair amount of back and forth, but alas, it was finally agreed that I could do the video, so I wasn't off the hook. You know, in last year's Father's Day homily, you might recall that I shared with you that my father died when I was a toddler. And so my firsthand experience of being fathered by him is non existent. So, really, who am I to talk about this? Well, I had Marvin in my life, and I am a son who still wonders if his father would be proud of his only son. Granted, that's not much in the way of bona fides, but then again, I did somehow manage to be a father to my son Jesse and my daughter Bria, and they have turned out to be good people and wonderful parents in their own right, so maybe I know more about this than I think I do. Regardless, I still have questions. What does it mean to be a father in these troubling times? What are fathers supposed to do for their children? What are the impacts of COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement on contemporary fathering? What are fathers' roles and responsibilities in our families, community, and world? What does fathering have to do with justice, equity, and compassion in human relations? Settle in. This could be a long one. No, I'm just kidding. My son Jess has had a life path that is different than mine. He's 40 now and has never had a job in his adult life that he really liked. This doesn't seem to bother him much. And whenever we talk about it, he looks at me like I'm from another planet. He says, "Dad, jobs are just what you have to do in order to support the things that you want to do." I can't relate to that. In my adult life, I never had a job that I didn't love, and I know that much of my identity and self-worth was wrapped up in the trappings of my professional life. Jesse's identity and self-esteem are all wrapped up in the people he loves: his fiancée, his daughter, his sister, his mom and dad, and innumerable friends. And I am sad to say that I have sometimes felt disappointed in what I see as his lack of ambition. As I look back at my life, I come to realize how driven I was. I was driven to succeed, to build therapy programs, graduate educational programs, a doctoral program, and to write books, and on and on. And when a few years ago it dawned on me that I had built everything I wanted to build and I didn't feel that drive so much anymore, I knew it was time to retire. I look back on all that now and wonder, what was I trying to prove? Who was I trying to convince? They say every journey is just one step at a time. Every painting begins with one line. And if I ask one question at the end of my run, hey, are you proud of your only son? In a strange and paradoxical way, Jesse is a bit like the prodigal son who wandered away from his father's way of being. Only in this story, when he returns to his father's house, he brings with him lessons about priorities, what's really important in life. COVID-19, Black Lives Matter, and fatherhood have swirled together in my head as I prepared for this homily. What do these events have to teach us? As Graham Nash's song suggests, teach your parents well. The children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the ones they pick, the one you'll know by. And don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh and know they love you. Well, I decided to ask the experts, my kids, to teach me about fathering. And in the light of the last few weeks, I have asked them if they could remember any events or conversations that we had shared that shaped their views on racism and how to be in the world. I suppose I was fishing for profundity, hoping to hear something vaguely suggestive of initiation rituals that we'd shared, but that wasn't in the cards. In emails and text exchanges, neither Bria nor Jessie could come up with particular memories. But last Saturday, as we were all together for the first time since the pandemic began, the three of us sat in Jessie's side yard in Madison and talked about sheltering in place and Black Lives Matter and parenting. I asked Bria how she was explaining the movement to her children, ages 8, 6, and 4, and she said she was trying to do what her mom and I had done when she was a kid, to just be kind to people. It wasn't anything you said, it was just the things you did, the way you guys were. Jessie chimed in that he remembered me telling stories about one of my best friends, Tom. Tommy and I played music together for several years, way back in the 70s, and he had a stroke when he was only in his early 50s. And Jess said, and when he was in that nursing home, you always went to visit him. I know it was hard, but you went. Are you really sure? Are you really sure? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't. So there we were, sitting in the sun in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was thinking about words I could use for this homily about fathering, and my kids were telling me it wasn't about words at all. The coronavirus lockdown forced Jesse to stay home with his daughter Ava, and I have watched him on Zoom fathering her. I've read his posts on Facebook. Here's a snippet from his post dated May 20th. I apologize in advance for this long-winded post, and some of you may think this is due to the COVID-19 virus. But frankly, I have said this before, and I'll say it again and again because I truly believe it. This pandemic just has given me the gift of time to write this. I truly believe that I have lived an incredibly blessed life. Growing up as a kid, I felt like I had the best life and life was perfect. I have the most amazing parents in the world that a kid could ever ask for. The son returns home to the prodigal father in order to teach him about what is important. As terrible as COVID-19 has been with all the suffering it has brought, Jesse is able to see it as a gift, and to think that sometimes I have been frustrated by his priorities. Teach your parents well. So I find myself thinking about Marvin and that soapbox derby, spinning wheels and shoveling gravel, these rituals of initiation, truths transformed into symbolic action. And I think of Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman burning their individual intentions in the crucible of teamwork. And I think about my kids standing beside Kathy and me as we built our house in Ohio and as we tried to be kind to the people in our lives. I think about all the hours I shared with Jess and Bria shooting baskets, doing stuff, transforming our essential truths into action. Prodigal fathers, pay attention. Your children need you. They're watching as you stand next to them. Whether or not you repair arrowheads or plows, or wash pistons in gasoline, shoot baskets, or sit for imaginary tea parties, slowly, over the months and years, the child's body strings begin to resonate to the older man that is you. Teach your children well. Happy Father's Day.